Even though this was about 3 days ago and I'm kind of late in posting it, but the fat ass 45 is a secessionist from the top. The fat ass 45 read a boring speech badly on the last night of the Republican National Convention. The long recitation was punctuated by odd comprehension errors at one point at Waldorf cities and communities. Came out sounding like Waldorf cities and communities. Through most of the long recitation, the members of the partisan crowd seemed quiet, even listless, but there were rare sparks of enthusiasm, moments when the fat ass 45 excited them. Near the end of the hour-long address, the fat ass 45 intoned, "This November we must turn the page forever on this failed political class that you caused. The fact is," he says, "I'm here," and suddenly he paused, turned theoretically to his left, and extended his hand toward the south front of the White House. "What's the name of that building?" He extemporized, and the crowd cheered, laughed, and whistled. He then extemporized some more, but I'll say it differently. "The fact is, we're here and they're not." Louder cheers, and a standing ovation. To his inbred redneck admirers, one of the most attractive qualities of 45 of the fat ass 45 is his utter shamelessness. When he does something wrong, he boasts about it. He tells Lester Holt on television that he fired James Comey to shut down the Russian investigation, and he tells George Stephanopoulos that he would again welcome foreign help for his re-election campaign when he diverts taxpayer money to his businesses. He does so in full view of the watching world. When he takes payments from foreign governments, he does so in a garish hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue, and there is nothing apologetic about him. And this was once again on full display. The fat ass 45's campaign probably broke the law and certainly trashed norms of Republican constitutionalism, dating to the very origins of the United States when it made a campaign prop of the White House. But was the fat ass 45 troubled? Absolutely not. He basked in the moment. He invited his inbred supporters to bask with him, and bask they did. The fat ass 45 is a dreadful public speaker, but a master communicator. When he chooses to deliver a formal oration, as he chose to do so on the fourth night of the convention, he visibly bores himself. He comes alive only when he can free associate on stage about his grievances, bigotries, and hatreds. And while those speeches may seethe with dark energy, they are hemmed in by his shrinking vocabulary and eccentric content or egocentric content. How much rhetorical juice can be squeezed from the single and endlessly recycled lemon they were mean to me. But even provided with the most humdrum test, the fat ass 45 finds ways to convey his powerful message. All those decencies that irritate and chafe you, that you don't dare disregard. I dare for you. Mid speech, the fat ass 45 expatiated on the greatness of the American past. Our American ancestors sailed across the perilous ocean to build a new life on a new continent. Almost any other candidate, even any other Republican, would feel some need to acknowledge the experience of Native Americans and enslaved Africans, to place a question mark over the concept of wild frontier and open range. The literal phrases in his text, but the fat ass 45 knows that millions of his fellow Americans are sick and tired of having to pretend to care about black and indigenous people. He wants them to know that he doesn't care about either of them. That's what they love about him, because he's a racist piece of shit. Um, the night before the fat ass 45's acceptance speech, um, the a fat ass 45 supporter shot three people, killing two of them in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The 17-year-old crossed state lines to carry his AR-15 style rifle to a scene of confrontation that ended in death. Some presidential nominees might have felt obligated to say something about this. Again, not the fat ass 45. In the strongest possible terms, the Republican Party condemns the rioting, looting, arson, and violence we have seen in Democrat-run cities like Kenosha, Minneapolis, Portland, Chicago, and New York. He said, "The fat ass 45 spoke not a word to his followers, urging them to put down their guns and quit the provocateur tactics that have so often accelerated disorder into violence. He knows that millions of his fellow Americans regard an armed white vigilante as an honorary law enforcement officer. He wants them to know that he agrees. That's something else they love about him too, is that because he's a fucking idiot." But here's the most important thing that the fat ass 45 communicates with, and why his setting last night resonated so powerfully, all the way to the partisan. Fireworks in the National Mall spelling out um, fat ass 45 in 2020. Fat ass 45's big re-election pitch is law and order, which he doesn't follow. He delivered that message while himself defying the laws and rules governing the use of government resources for partisan purposes. He delivered that message after another of his 2016 campaign chairs was indicted. He delivered that message while fiercely battling in court to defeat subpoenas from New York prosecutors apparently investigating him, his family, and his companies for any type of bank fraud. He delivered that message while running on the clock on congressional subpoenas investigating him, his family, and his companies for tax fraud. No president since Richard Nixon has seen so many of his closest allies convicted of or pleading guilty to any criminal wrongdoing. From the south front of the White House, Fat Ass 45 broke the law in order to communicate to his inbred supporters that a crime is not something you do, a criminal is something that you are, and by you, of course, he means them. Fat Ass 45 has lately invoked Abraham Lincoln with some frequency. Perhaps he was influenced by another of the felons in his circle, Dinesh D'Souza, who produced a sycophantic film equating Trump to Lincoln, but actually Fat Ass 45 to Lincoln, but Fat Ass 45's core idea is exactly the opposite of what Lincoln's is. Lincoln insisted in the throes of Civil War that he was the president of the whole United States and all of its evil, even those in armed rebellion against his authority. Fat Ass 45 is a secessionist from the top, as by colleague Ron Brownstein often observes. Fat Ass 45 regards himself as a wartime squatter of Red America against Blue America. That's how he can describe riot and disorder as happening in Biden's America, even when it happens under his failed presidency. In his mind, the majority of the country is already Biden's America even before Biden enters office, and the remainder of it will continue to be Trump's America even when Trump leaves office in November, or the Fat Ass 45 leaves office in November. Since we are two countries, we can have two sets of laws and orders. One for friends, another for enemies. That's why so many prominent 45 inbreeding supporters can look at the shooting in Kenosha and perceive the gunman who went to a city where he did not live with an AR-15 style rifle in hand as acting in self-defense, which it wasn't. The gunmen had legitimate rights that must be respected. The dead men did not, and neither did all the many victims this year of police shootings. If those victims had criminal records, then they were criminals, unlike, say, Michael Flynn, who remains a rights-bearing American despite his criminal record. Two countries, two classes of citizen, two systems of law. That was the message Fat Ass 45 so masterfully communicated with his abuse of the White House Thursday night, advertised by huge digital screens that blurred his campaign logo, self-applauded by the big fireworks show that the Fat Ass 45 branded the Washington Monument, and that's the question on the ballot this November too. Is the law a set of obligations and rights binding for all, or a tool of power for the benefit to some? Now if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, Random Mike, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.